Welcome, this is my first top 10 list, the top 10 most infectious video game themes. Now, as per my Murphy's Media Memory episodes, these are all games before the year 2000. And I'm also just going to let you know, because I only grew up as a Nintendo kid, these only include Nintendo and Super Nintendo games.
Do the Mario swing your arms.
Number 10.
Come on, it's time to go. Do the Mario take one.
The Overworld theme from Super Mario Bros. By Koji Kondo. There are two major themes from Mario that I can hum, one of them being this one. But of course, the song I really want to mention that is really infectious is the opening theme to Super Mario Bros., the very first world. In high school, I remember people in the stands humming this or singing it very loud in football and soccer games. So I don't know where that came from, but it was always interesting to hear. And who doesn't know this song anyway? I mean, it was probably, for most people, like myself, one of the first video games that you played, so it was also one of the first video game tunes that you ever heard, which might be why this theme is so integrated into most of our minds and pop culture. I mean, it's probably the second most remixed theme song I have ever heard. Video game theme songs. And I am not alone in thinking this. Here is an NPR video about the theme of Mario and other video game songs and how you can't get them and other tunes out of your head.
Do the Mario swing your arms.
Number 9.
From side to side. Come on, it's time to go. Do the Mario take one.
Opening and supervillains from Spider-Man Venom Maximum Carnage for the Super Nintendo by Green Jelly. Maximum Carnage was a 14-part comic book series that was adapted into a video game. And to make sure it sold well, they made sure it had an incredibly rockin' soundtrack by Green Jelly. Who's Green Jelly? Who knows? Who cares? The music is good anyway. It doesn't hurt that you will hear the supervillain theme multiple times throughout the game as you fight all the supervillains. And it's not one of those bad songs where you're like, oh god, it's on again. It's on so much that it'll start repeating in your head.
Swing your arms from side
Number
to side.
8.
Come on, it's time to go. Do the Mario take one.
Main theme for Battletoads Double Dragon, the Ultimate Team for Super Nintendo by Uncredited Musician. This is one of my favorite Super Nintendo games of all time. I can constantly play this game over and over again and never get bored. It doesn't hurt that it's not incredibly super hard like the original Nintendo, just more than hard. Every time I play this, I just have to watch the story all the way through because all the graphics are just gigantic and really good to look at. In fact, this is one of my favorite soundtracks for the Super Nintendo, but only 2 of them stand out as being something that will infect your mind and cause you to sing them over and over again. And of course, the most addictive one is the opening theme. Yeah, that's going to be a recurring theme on this show. Apparently, most of the themes that are addictive are going to be the opening level or the opening theme on the title screen, because that's what they really put a lot of effort into to make you want to keep playing or even start the game in the first place. So here it is, that awesome rockin' tune for Battletoads Double Dragon, the Ultimate Team.
Number
7.
It's time to go. Do the Mario. Take one.
Stage 1 Overhead Map and Stage 1 Sewer from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the Nintendo by uncredited musicians. You could list a lot of the songs on this soundtrack, such as the memorable boss themes, but when it comes to the ones that get stuck in your head, it mainly comes down to the first time you're on the overhead map, as well as the first time you go into your sewer. Rather, if you needed to go into that first sewer or not, because it simply just led to a place you could have skipped entirely by simply walking across the road. These opening few hooks make you remember the song, even if it's only the first 5 to 10 seconds. You won't necessarily remember the entire 3 minutes, but you'll know enough that it'll still get stuck in your head. And that's like the way with pop songs as well. You can remember certain songs, and even if you don't actually know every single lyric and beat of the entire thing. Listening to these again for this video made me realize I never actually made a soundtrack for this game despite really liking the music. And how could I have not done this? I mean, look at this picture. I own every single DVD of all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoons from the 80s. How could I not have made a soundtrack for this yet? And yes, I mean made, because no one really releases soundtracks for games this old. Don't arrest me.
Do the Mario. Swing your arms from side
Number
to side.
6.
Come on, it's time to go. Do the Mario. Take one.
The Funhouse from Spider-Man on the Super Nintendo by Fletcher Beasley. Right away you can tell the music that I'm gonna like and get stuck in my head is a lot different compared to most people. Case in point, this one right here. This is from the second stage of Coney Island's Spider-Man level called the Funhouse. This was always in my head in high school and in college, but it has slowly dropped off over the years, making this lower on the list than it would have been had I created this when I was in my 20s.
Do the Mario. Swing your arms
Number
from side to side.
5.
Come on, it's time to go. Do the Mario. Take one.
Music A from Tetris for Nintendo. Wait a minute. This isn't the song I'm thinking of. This is Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. What's the song I'm thinking of, and where did it come from? Turns out the version I remember the most is actually from the Game Boy version as Music A. Not only that, but it's a digitized version of a Russian folk tune called Korabenki. I hope I pronounced that right. Seriously, do you need to know anything else? It's Tetris. Everyone had this for either Nintendo or Game Boy growing up. And also, Music A here, it has got to be one of the most remixed video game themes of all time.
Do the Mario, swing your arms from side to
Number
side.
4!
It's time to go, do the Mario, take one.
Gremlins 2 themes from Nintendo by Nakai Kadaka. DuckTales is a classic Nintendo soundtrack, and with good reason. However, it's not something that I can say that pops in my head all the time, so as much as the songs are really enjoyable, I don't think they're as infectious as something like, say, this theme song from Gremlins 2. Now, when you think of amazing Nintendo soundtracks, I'm sure none of you even think, ha, of course, Gremlins 2, because some of you probably aren't even aware this was ever made as a video game. But you know what? It's actually an amazing video game. It actually is a good movie video game, and actually has a lot of the characters and plot points from the movie itself, something hardly any games mostly usually do. In fact, there are so many enemies on this based on the movie, you can make a whole video about it, which some people actually have. Now, I can probably sing to you the entire soundtrack from memory, but I won't bore you with something that ridiculous and annoying. Instead, I'm just going to show you the 4 major themes that stand out in my head. What I like is that all these songs are around 3 minutes long or so they actually put a lot of time into it to make it like a feature-length song, in addition to also being really addictive songs. So, with that done, let's continue on to the next one.
Do the Mario, swing your arms from
Number
side to side.
3.
Come on, it's time to go, do the Mario, take one.
The Boy Who Had Wings from Wanderers from East 3 for the Super Nintendo. All songs are either by Mikihara Hasuya, Masaki Harada, or Osami Kasai. All of these songs were variations of the TurboGrafx-16 version done by Maiko Ishikawa. This song in particular was a remake from the Ys 1 song by Yuzo Koshiro. What's weird is I didn't know it was actually a remake, so I listened to the original song from Ys 1, and it is so different, but you can clearly see the original beat that became just its own original song for this version. Wanderers from East is a game I rented once, and even though I only played it in a single weekend, some of its songs just stayed with me over time. As I remember when I played it again a decade later, I still remembered the songs before they emerged. And it's something that just really stands out in my mind. Especially the opening theme as soon as you leave the city and get ready to go to your first adventure. You just start out on the field, and all of a sudden it's just da-da-da, da-da-da. have the soundtrack for Ys 3, but it's the orchestral score. And it's always weird to listen to a soundtrack that's an orchestral score in the first time you listen to it, when all you've heard is the bit sounds for it. And hey, if you want a third variation of all this, you could even check out the Ys 3 soundtrack for the Sega Genesis. In addition, I think Ys 3 has probably one of the most memorable boss themes of all time, and that's the final boss fight right before you fight Galabon. I think that's his Super Nintendo game, because it's translated differently in all the other versions as Demonis or something crazy like that. But anyway, final boss battle.
Swing your arms from
Number
side to
2.
side. Come on, it's time to go. Do the Mario. Take one.
Sigma Battle 1 from Mega Man X2 for the Super Nintendo by Yuki Awai. X2 was the only Mega Man game I ever had, which is probably why it's one of my favorite soundtracks. Hell, I played this game so much, I was able to get through the entire game without collecting a single heart tank, E-tank, any of the 4 armor upgrades, and using only the Buster to beat the game. Sadly, this is something I could not replicate when I tried it again with the PS2. The controller just didn't work. There's one that gets in there a lot. In fact, most of the time, this pops into my head occasionally at work. Maybe it's because I tackle every case like it's a final boss battle. But this is the Sigma Battle. The only other Mega Man game I had growing up was Mega Man for the DOS. I would not recommend playing it. In this part of the video, this is usually where I count down numbers 10 through 9, but screw that. If you've been watching it, did you really forget everything I've said in the last 10 minutes? No, we're going straight to number 1.
Do the Mario. Swing your arms from side to side.
Number
Come on,
1.
It's time to go. Do the Mario. Take one.
Run Kirby Run from Kirby vs. Day Day Day, the racing game from Kirby Superstar on the Super Nintendo by either Jun Ishikawa or Dan Miyakawa. Now, bear with me, because this is not probably on anyone's number 1 or even their top 10 list. But this is a really fun and upbeat song that is really, really addictive and will really get into your head. Just to show you how odd it is, I want to hum this to somebody and see if they can even recognize what this song is. And remember, this is somebody that has played lots of games all their lives. So let's see if they can recognize it. Hey, Colin.
Yeah.
Do you recognize this song?
I'm gonna say Kirby's Dream Land 2.
Well, that was a failure, so let's see if one more person can get this right. Or if maybe I just know a very obscure song. Have you ever heard this song before?
Oh yeah, that sounds familiar. That's in all those Smash Brothers games.
Yeah, I had no idea this was in Smash Brothers. I thought this was just in that game and that game alone until I was just informed that right now. Now, I have no idea why, but this song keeps getting stuck in my head, and it just randomly popped there too after not having played the game in almost a decade. And most of the time it's just at work. What, am I trying to get through my cases as quickly as possible? Or maybe I'm trying to just race through the entire workday so I can go home as quickly as possible. Let's try to not subconsciously analyze that. The music itself is very upbeat and energetic, as if there is a time limit behind it, and the music is always changing too, so the theme has a lot of variety. It's the most memorable song of the entire game, and I will never be able to get it out of my head. And hey, if you can't get enough of that song, here's an a cappella version. And hey, if you love that song so much, here's a Mario Paint version. Well, that was my top 10 most addictive video game themes of all time. Yeah, okay, so they were basically all the time before the year 2000, and were only Nintendo and Super Nintendo games, but whatever. So hey, I'd like to know what you think of this list, as well as what other types of songs that just get stuck in your head over and over again. So this has been another episode of Murphy Media Memories, a top 10 list.
And again, let's do the Mario all together now. Come on now, just like that.
And remember, once again, these are from my head and the games I played, which means if you think it's awesome, I probably didn't play it, or I didn't care, so yeah. It's like, alright. Okay.
Kind of douchey, Yanni.
Alright.